So let us just dive into it. The first question, which is of 23 year 2023 ethics paper. The first question is, what do you understand by moral integrity and professional efficiency? What do you understand by moral integrity and professional efficiency? The next thing is in the context of corporate governance. So you have to tell what does moral integrity and professional efficiency means in the context of corporate governance, and illustrate with suitable examples, and you have to give suitable examples also. So three important concepts comes up here. First is corporate governance, second is moral integrity, and the third thing is professional efficiency. If you do not know any of this, or you have a vague idea of what moral integrity is, or what professional efficiency is, or what do you mean by corporate governance, if you think that's a new thing you are reading, because what everywhere you have read is only about public governance or public administration, not the private administration, then you will be in trouble. So just try to pay attention to the words and try to understand the concepts of what they are asking and how those concepts are being linked with one another. So how in the context of corporate governance, the roles of moral integrity and efficiency, that is what the question is asking. What role does moral integrity and efficiency play in corporate governance? To simplify the question, they are asking the examples of it. So let us first understand what do you mean by corporate governance. So corporate governance, there are different kind of governance. You know, governance is a simple thing. It is very complex, but in a definition we can put it in a very simpler way, that any system of rules and regulations which has been in action through the instruments and by the officials for the benefit of the general public is known as governance. Now governance can be of many types. Governance can be corporate governance, governance can be public governance. In public governance, the government, the established government which people vote for, and we have a parliamentary system. So you know, we have a president and the prime minister and the responsible government, and then the bureaucracy, and to maintain justice in the society we have courts and integrated judiciary. So this is the system of governance in India, okay, and the functioning of this system is called as public governance. But when we are talking about corporate governance, it is the functioning of companies. Corporate governance deals with companies. You can also have a non-profit organization, non-governmental organization. Governance is also involved in that. Even in self-help group, there is some amount of governance. Non-banking financial companies also have governance part in it. So governance is how an organization is functioning, how it is processing. Is it able to reach its goals through whatever stipulated measures it has taken? And the measures could be the instruments such as the rules and the laws and the regulation which has been made in the light of the goals which they want to achieve. So for public governance, the goal is the maximization of social justice, economic justice and political justice in the country, to maintain equality, fraternity and unity in the country for the benefit of the people in achieving their potential. But when it comes to corporate governance, the one major idea is profit maximization. Profit maximization. Along with the profit maximization, we also have a concept of giving back to the society. You know, if you have established a company, it is running very well, you have to do something. Corporate social responsibility is one of the example how you give back to the society. If you are making profits and the profits are continuous for 3 years, for 4 years, there must be some percentage of that profit which you should give back to the society in form of some public service. So corporate governance deals with profit maximization, and corporate governance deals with companies. So we have a Companies Act. Okay, so the first element of governance is that the company has to run according to the Companies Act of 2013. If it is not running according to the Companies Act, then the corporate governance itself is faulty. Let's say if it is running according to the Companies Act, then what else is needed in a corporate governance? There will be defined positions. There will be a CEO, there will be a manufacturing unit, and there will be a head of that manufacturing unit. There will be analysts, the people who analyzes the data of what they are acquiring, what they are selling, what kind of products they are making, how to refine those products, how to serve people better by making those products even more better in quality. All those things, we have different departments in a company which look after the operations of the company or the functioning of the company. So when you have these posts, they are the people who discharges duty, and they have power in their hand. They have signatory power in their hand. By the virtue of their signature on a piece of paper, they can make decisions. For example, somebody is responsible for hiring. Okay, hiring. For a company to run, you need people who can work for the company. So you need a hiring unit. Also, when a company is run, there is some government linkage. Some sort of government linkage where you have to take permissions from the government, or you have to submit audit reports to the government, or you are in a way accountable to the government. So all those government linkages, there is a separate department in companies we look after government linkages for permissions and for accountability. We have a hiring unit, we have a manufacturing unit, then we have a selling unit. Okay, we have audit unit. So roughly all these things combine together in the company to make its governance better. So what is happening here? Division of labor. One person or a group of people cannot do everything. So they have divided the work among themselves, and we have a head in audit department, then selling department, manufacturing, hiring department, and government linkages department. Under that head, people are working. For example, this is the head, and he has a team of, let's say, 5, and 1 2 3 4 5, and they may have their own people working under them. So this is the hierarchy through which the governance structure work. At the top of all this can be the CEO of the company or the board of directors of the company, can be anybody. Okay, so this is what corporate governance is all about. Now, what is the role of moral integrity in this structure of corporate governance, and what is the role of professional efficiency in the structure of corporate governance? So before understanding the role of moral integrity, let us understand what integrity and moral integrity means. It is a sense of honesty. Okay, when you are making any decision, the decision has to be ethical and should contain morality. That is what is moral integrity is. So you can be head of any department here, you can be one of the employee working under a head in your unit. If you have a decision making authority, that decision making authority has to have moral sense into it, has to be ethical, and along with everything, you need to be honest for whatever you are doing. And if that is missing, to a great extent, moral integrity is missing in the whole structure of corporate governance. Let us come to an example. For example, government linkages. All of you remember Bhopal gas tragedy. What happened in Bhopal gas tragedy? There was a permission seeking which needs to be done. A government needs to give permission because it was a pesticide company, Union Carbide. It was making pesticides and it contains a lot much of poisonous gas in the form of liquid methyl isocyanate, which if mixed with water gives a volatile reaction, and in that volatility the temperature of the liquid methyl isocyanate increases to thousands of degrees, which ultimately turns into smoke, vaporizes, and that smoke, the vapor comes out from the chimney, and that's poisonous vapor, and that is what people were breathing. Within 3 days about 10,000 people died in Bhopal. And why it has happened? There are many factors, but let us focus on this government linkages one. The Union Carbide and the managers and the people who were responsible for taking permission from the government has bribed the government ministers at that time, the bureaucracy at that time, to obtain permission to link 3 tanks together. So these are tank number 1, tank number 2, tank number 3, and all of them contain methyl isocyanate inside it. So the government regulation, the safety measures made by the government has to say that these are stand-alone tanks and they should not be linked, because if it is linked and if it is 30 ton of methyl mic gas, mic liquid inside it, and 30 tons here and 30 tons here, if they are separate, you only have 30 tons, means if some disaster happens, if something wrong happens, only 30 ton will be at risk. That means that if the poisonous gas comes up, the quantity of it will be very less. But the moment you combine these 3 and link them, in total it will be 90. According to the safety measures and the regulation, this was not possible, but through bribery, permission was obtained to link these 3 tanks. And when, because of errors by people inside and the structural problems inside the and the corruption, what happened? All these tanks which were containing of mic liquid turned into vapors, causing the disastrous environment in Bhopal in 1984. So that is what can happen. Was taking permission from the government for something like this involves moral integrity? That is the question we have to ask. Many times the corporate governance, for maximization of the profit, the managers, the CEOs, the head of the institutions, these units, head of these units, they try to seek the permission of the government through persuasion, through bribery, through several methods, through force, or by luring them into giving political donations. Anything can happen, but that does not involve moral integrity. Moral integrity simply means that when you are seeking permission from government, it has to be ethical, it has to be moral. The foundation of it has to be honesty and integrity. The important element has to be accountability and transparency, that whoever is taking that permission and whoever is making the decision has to be accountable for it. That is what is called moral integrity, and it is of paramount importance in corporate governance. Simply, if you are doing hiring and you are doing nepotism here, then again moral integrity is at loss. you are doing manufacturing, but you are picking up products which are environmentally hazardous, so that your cost of making the product decreases, then again moral integrity is not involved in your decision making. Same is with selling and same is with auditing. If you are not showing things in a proper light, you are hiding something, information is not provided properly, and you are making tons of black money. This all happens in corporate governance, and that is the reason why moral integrity becomes a paramount importance in corporate governance. Now comes the second issue, professional efficiency. Professional efficiency simply means you should conduct your functioning in such a way that there is minimum input with maximum output. So the input has to be minimum and the output has to be maximum. Also, proficiency comes when you have processes made, having rules and regulations, having accountability for all the units. The lower staff is responsible and accountable to the higher staff. The higher staff is accountable to the CEO, who in turn is accountable to the board of directors. This is what is the process of company and manufacturing unit, or can be anything. Company can be a manufacturing unit or a service company, or it can be innovation based company, but there is a structure to it, there is a governance structure to it, and the accountabilities are fixed, transparencies are there. One of the great way of accountability is the minutes of the meeting. By applying this one single formula of minutes of the meeting, you can make the decision makers accountable for their decisions. So the efficiency comes only when you have processes, and processes here simply means that whatever you are doing, despite of absence of a person, the process is in motion. For example, the owner of the company or the one who has established the company is no more. Let's say he passes away, he is dead. So the company crushes down. No, it should not. If he has made the processes, does not matter whether the person lives or dies, the company will keep running because there are processes, there are ways. For example, if some unfortunate incident happens, for example, if the president dies in the office, this has happened in India twice, then there is a mechanism of how you should appoint another person as the president, and for that particular reason vice president becomes the president. So there is a process. The country cannot stop just because a person has died. Similarly, in corporate governance also, if one of those person who is the head of this unit, he goes away on vacation, or that person resigns immediately, or has met an accident, or unfortunately he dies or she dies, that does not stop the company from functioning. That is what is called processes, and the processes has to be efficient. That means there is minimum effort required and it brings maximum outcome. So we have given examples also, government linkages and how moral integrity is important. Those are suitable examples which you can quote in your answer about hiring, about manufacturing, and you in the question you have to define first what is corporate governance, what is moral integrity, and what is professional efficiency. And along with it you have to show the linkage that without moral integrity and without professional efficiency, the corporate governance will degenerate, ultimately hurting the profit maximization of the company in the longer term. In short term, the company can make profits, but to survive in a long term in the competitive environment, company has to adhere to laws, rules and regulation. In this case, the Companies Act of 2013, which ultimately is responsible to the Constitution. Nothing can go outside the limits of the Constitution. No provision of any law, including the Companies Act, can infringe the provisions of the Constitution of India. So this is what is the answer. Now I have explained you in a greater length for your better understanding, but just try to summarize this answer within 150 words. It is always good if you have the full knowledge of the subject and then you write the answer, rather than having half knowledge or no knowledge at all and then hitting around the bush. That will not help you much in gaining marks. If you know the concept of corporate governance, moral integrity and professional efficiency, and how they are interlinked with each other.